Welcome to Source Not Found, a show about the worst versions of your favorite things. Every other week, we explore an IP, franchise, or fandom by way of its sequels, spin-offs, and side projects. Basically anything but the source material. I'm Brandon June, and I'm tired. I'm tired.
That was the exact opposite of the energy I expected you to bring to the start of this episode. I'm Bo Woodall, and I am Team Huntrix for life, and Rumi is perfect, and you cannot tell me anything differently. I will come at you so hard.
That's the energy I need. I have the energy today. I just mean, we're reviewing, we're summing up 2025, and
it's exhausting.
I feel it. I feel the weight of the 2025 upon me.
So here's the thing. This year has been, outside of this podcast and my own relationship in my house, with my significant other, this year's been absolute dog shit. But it has offered a couple of really, really nice rays of sunshine that we'll be talking about today. Because we need those. We need those to exist.
Yes. Dark times in everywhere, but not here today on this show, because we found moments of joy and things to source and bring us fulfillment in the year that
and
was.
Hopefully we found things that you will also take the time to source, because we think the things that we found may bring you just a brief moment of levity or joy or catharsis, something to just take you away from the world being on fire.
A brief extinguishment. If you haven't joined us in one of our sourced episodes before, this is the third one, which is crazy to say, but each year we end the year by talking about some things that we fully went in on, sourced to a greater degree than usual. Maybe not checked out everything, but usually to a great degree over the course of this past year. And we have a top 3 from each of us. And we also gave these things to one another to check out.
Yes, we did. I'm excited, man. I'm super stoked. I was very surprised at what you decided to delve deep into this year, because all of my shit this year is shit that I have encountered this year, and that's it. Most of the stuff that I encountered, or most of the stuff that I bring to the table for this sourced in 2025, are things that have come out in 2025 for the most part.
Yeah.
You went deep, my guy, and I love it.
Well, I guess that works as a segue, so maybe I'll just jump in with my third choice, which actually is... So like I said, we're giving one another things to check out as part of our own journey, but actually my pick was sort of your pick. It's something that you're into and that you brought to my attention. So I don't think I'd ever really heard an Ariana Grande song, maybe in passing somewhere, before Wicked.
Okay.
I was just unfamiliar. I had my first Wicked experience a few months ago. Had a good time.
That sounds vaguely sexual, and I kind of like that we just...
And maybe that's intentional.
Yes, it is.
So I wanted to broaden my horizons a little bit. This isn't a genre that I really listen to, modern pop music. I don't dislike the genre or the concept of it. I just don't find myself listening to it. I am wholly checked out of most things on the radio these days. So I went through a bunch of Ariana Grande albums, and I get it. She's incredible, as a vocalist. And I did find myself enjoying quite a bit of it. I started at the beginning. So,
quick question. Did you also look into her vocal abilities when she's not on an album? Her appearances on things like late night shows or Saturday Night Live, stuff like that? Because she is also a brilliant vocal mimic.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind. She goes from Britney Spears to Christina Aguilera to Kelly Clarkson to fucking Nina Simone, and just makes the shit work. And
Wow. I'm ashamed to say my sourcing did not go that far, but just on like studio albums, I did see an amazing range. Actually, as much as I enjoyed the first album, like R&B really isn't my favorite genre. Like
Sure.
a lot of that more down tempo kind of stuff, like it's just a little too slow for my taste, honestly.
Sure.
But there was a lot to enjoy there. But like, so starting from that first album, there were some really great tracks like Tattooed Heart and Loving It, and like Piano, that was like so upbeat and happy. And like from the next album on, she moved away more so from like the R&B foundation. And like that next album, My Everything, there were a bunch of bangers, like just one after another. And when I jumped into that one, like this is kind of the energy that I'm feeling now. And what was really cool was to hear very familiar. I'm familiar with it now. A little Popular from Wicked.
Yeah.
Which she was doing, way back then, like a precursor, a hint of things to come, that she would eventually take on the role of Glenda in Wicked. So yeah, the Popular song with Mika, I think. I wasn't familiar. I'm not familiar with anybody. I'm an old coming in trying to. How do you do fellow Ariana Grande living kids?
Hello, fellow kids. Yeah.
But yeah, like there's the echo of that melody in that song, and like, oh, she was doing the little Popular line in this track.
Yeah.
Back on her first album, which is cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm really happy you get to kind of see the fact that outside of her being like a Disney child, and like, I really feel like in the current, like, I don't know, like Big Brother is watching you kind of climate, like she's much more of a celebrity than a pop star a lot of times. And like a lot of people forget, old girl can sing. Like, she got pipes for days.
That's interesting because like I'm not really familiar with her public persona, right? But I guess immediately associated her with like wholesome, Wicked, right? Like family entertainment. Because I don't know anything else from her. And then like you get to like, especially by the time you hit that third album, fuck me, this is pretty sexy.
Yeah. Yeah. Stuff gets dangerous.
You got my eyes rolling back in my head.
Yeah.
Not me. That's a line from a song. I'm referencing Ariana. Hey. I'm familiar now.
Easy Bobby. Easy Bobby.
I didn't like it that much. I didn't source it that hard. Yeah, it's I like to take the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. Not that this was uncomfortable, but just like, again, I have a bunch of bands. Like I find in recent years, I don't branch out as much as I want to. Like I have a lot of bands that I just continue to follow, and I'm in my little like niche of like progressive rock and metal and math rock and stuff, and I'm not usually keyed into what's actually out in the mainstream that like most of the planet is listening to. So
sure,
getting to just claw back a little bit of relevancy was enjoyable, and I had a good time. Like I actually had to make a new playlist just because I didn't have one that existed that would accommodate an Ariana Grande influx. So I have a whole new playlist, and it's just Ariana Grande right now. But I imagine that maybe in the future, maybe I'll check out Taylor Swift next, because I think the last time I heard anything from her was Shaking It Off. Yeah, I don't know what she's doing, but I think I'm behind the times.
You're definitely that, yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
speaking of, that's a really good segue of speaking about bands that we stick with. I'm going to start with music as well.
Okay.
This year blew my mind because it was the resurgence of pop punk emo from when I was in high school and college. I'm going to give you a quick rundown, okay? Like, we're going to start with the most recent artists. All Time Low released an album called Everyone's Talking. All Time Low has been releasing albums since like 2004 or something like that. And they release an album every couple of years. So good. Emo pop punk, I listen to them a lot. They were almost my singular topic for this episode. They may be next year. Who knows? Say Anything, the band, released an album. The Noise of Say Anything's Room Without ... It's their first album in I think 5 or 6 years. They released a song a day in November through December for like, I think it was 14 or 15 days. Yellow Card released their first album in 9 years called Better Days. Travis Barker from Blink-182 did the drums. Super cool.
Matt Skiba's
on the album. So is Avril Lavigne.
Yeah. Matt Skiba. I like Alkaline Trio quite a bit. So
Alkaline Trio is fucking awesome.
I'm not an Avril fan, I gotta say, but
Motion City Soundtrack released their first album in over 10 years called The Same Old Wasted Wonderful World. And they don't seem like they've lost a fucking beat. Like, it sounds like their old shit. Like, it's amazing.
It really did. Yeah.
And lastly, and the one that I really want to point out, Gatsby's American Dream, a band that I fell in love with early in college, released their first album in 19 years. Or it's an EP, but they released Chiron, a 3-song EP, the first time they've released music in 19 years. And it sounds so fucking good. Just the fact that there are 5 separate bands, and maybe even more that I'm not even aware of, but 5 separate bands that haven't released music in damn near a decade or more, in the case of Gatsby's American Dream, decide to all release albums this year. Man, it was an embarrassment of riches for a emo nostalgic boy like myself. Like, it just felt so good to see some of these guys back in the saddle.
I'm always fascinated when I see something like that sort of re-enter the zeitgeist, and like independent of one another, right? Because these things had to have been cooking for like a while. Like, they're being recorded, they're being written and performed, and they're making the albums, and they just kind of come out bam, 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 bam in a row. Like, it happens in the game space sometimes too, with like a certain genre just like coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, hey, suddenly we're all doing like farming sims and whatever, or like certain movies, you know. And sometimes you can see like something hits big and there's a bunch of imitators that come along in the year or two afterwards. But in this case, right, like just like all in a row, something was calling. Maybe it's, I don't know, we talked about at the beginning of the episode, like dark times, and in dark times we seek comforting things, we seek nostalgia, we seek to return to an age where maybe things felt a little more hopeful, the future a little brighter. And like, I can't think of a genre of music, like, other than my previous source pick, which was Japanese city pop, but like pop punk of the mid-aughts, early to mid-aughts, is just like so relentlessly upbeat and fun.
So that's something I kind of want to bring up. Like, and this is why I'll leave it on my point at least. Like, 2 of the bands that I'd like to mention, Gatsby's American Dream and All Time Low. Gatsby's American Dream, it feels very much like I am seeing the world as it is currently on fire. And I am writing this music to vent a little bit and also let you know that you're not alone. Right? were all-time low. They've been releasing music so often where there's one song that almost hurts me to listen to, because as someone who has gone to rehab, has gone to therapy, has discussed addiction issues and things like that in the past, like, the chorus is, what if the music is in the madness? Like, I'm getting older now that I am, like, growing out of all the shit, all the stupid shit I used to do. What if I'm not cool anymore? What if I'm losing my art? What if I'm losing my ability to tell a story? What if I'm not fun? What if people hate me because I'm growing? And that's, there's such a weird dichotomy, right? Between one band still maintaining this kind of anti-establishment punk sensibility, and another band who has released music so much more often talking about, oh my God, what if I'm growing out of this? Does this mean I'm not going to be successful? Are you going to hate me now? Like, am I not worthy of your adoration anymore because I'm not as damaged as I used to be? That's, to me, that's why this whole year in music has been so fascinating when it comes to this genre, because you have that dichotomy of some people are growing up and other people are just like, it's not that they're not growing up, it's that the world's still shit. And so they are still latching on to what they need to latch on to. And it's just really fascinating to me.
I wish I would have spent a little more time on that side of your choices, because I went for the bands, because you listed out a few albums that you had checked out, and I picked some of those. And I went for Yellow Card, and I went for Motion City Soundtrack, because Say Anything was another one on your list. Like, I knew the Call Her on the Phone, She Touches Herself or something. That song. Like, I think that's my only memory of them. But like, oh, I remember Yellow Card, and I never actually really liked them too much, but it wasn't really dislike. It wasn't quite my thing. Motion City Soundtrack, I actually did quite like them when I was younger. And jumping into that album, like, oh man, like all the things I liked are still here. Like, they haven't really, it was just fun, like musically fun. Like, it was.
Yeah, exactly.
To your point, like a lot of these bands can broach topics or just like fully on explore them, but then package it in a very, like, a lot of hooks and a lot of, like, can be musically upbeat while exploring darker themes, which is a very compelling juxtaposition, right? For me, the poppier side of pop punk, like, for when I was growing up, like, I still liked stuff that would be considered pop punk. And I mean, Blink-182 was a formative band, but like, about when I was that age, I got very political. So it was a lot of Anti-Flag, and even stuff that's like politically adjacent, like NoFX, which is like less explicitly political, but like still, I mean, they had the whole like War on Terrorism album, and a lot of responses to the war in Iraq and the Bush administration. So like, I was mostly living on that end of things. So to your point, like the particulars might change, like whether you're like with the Anti-Flag, like the Panama Deception or something like that, like something very specifically referencing explicit actions by a government or political happenings, or like turning it more personal and exploring like your relationship to your own music, your own art, getting older, things like that. Like in both cases, like dealing with very heavy topics.
Yeah.
And finding a way to package them and make it honestly like catchy, which is weird to say. But that's the magic of pop punk. And I think that I really liked hearing your thoughts just now, because it's something that has an inherent conflict within it, because it's very youth coded, right? Like,
yeah.
But maybe that's just me being old, but like I associate the genre and the sound of it with like, maybe because I was, a teenager at the time. But
I think that's why albums like, Yellow Card coming out with Better Days, right? Like, and Motion City Soundtrack coming out with The Same Old Wasted Wonderful World. Like, they are all completely aware that they are old. Like, they're not the kids they used to be. And I find that very, very fun and fascinating.
Yeah. One that I actually do like, because like I said, it's not my particular genre, but I do really love Newfound Glory, which is a very pop punk.
Dude, they played at Epcot this year.
Really?
Yeah, I missed them by 2 days.
And they've had some material in recent years that deals with that as well. And sometimes, like with a one song in particular I'm thinking of, like it almost is in danger of being like crank status. Like, the kids today, like the youthful rebellion and the rejection of things that we once thought like we were, sticking it to the man or whatever. Like we're the young, cool kids. And like, but as you get older, it's very easy to have that same outlook. But now, like, because you're on the other side of things, it's like some of the issues that they're bringing up are like the things that the kids are doing. Like, and now you're in danger of going crank status.
Yep.
So I think
you
there's
gotta watch out for that.
danger. Yeah. Good picks. It was cool to check out some bands I hadn't listened to in a while. For my number 2, this was kind of late breaking. I suddenly jumped into Douglas Adams to a degree that I hadn't before, specifically The Hitchhiker's Guide. I've read all the books, and you have as well. Longtime fan. Like, I guess I was in high school when I first read The Hitchhiker's Guide.
Probably, yeah.
And, yeah. Just immediately like, I encountered him after falling in love with Monty Python a few years prior, and just like that kind of humor just hit me. Like it became an immediate favorite. And so I've loved it ever since. But despite that, I've never really broadened my exposure to all the various ways that he repackaged and re-released that story. Even the novel itself is itself like an adaptation. Like he's adapting his own source material because it was originally a radio broadcast, which I'd never listened to. So I listened to all the original BBC radio broadcasts from the late 70s. And I also played the Infocom text adventure game that he also wrote. And I guess I'd seen the movie before. I think it's like 2001, maybe, or around there. I'm trying to remember now. But
Martin Freeman and Mos Def?
Yeah. Maybe a little later than 2001. But the early aughts, I want to say. Which, not a great movie. But
it's fine.
Some inspired. It's fine. Yeah. Actually, and part of it is it's an unfortunate timing because Neil Gaiman is not exactly in a good place right now. It's not a good place.
Mm-hmm.
The fandom is not a good place, but he wrote a fantastic biography and overview of all of the various versions of Hitchhiker's Guide and a pretty thorough overview of Douglas Adams and the process by which he wrote these things and the context. And that kind of inspired me to check a lot of them out. But in that biography, at one point, he brings up the idea that it is structurally something that's not suited to feature films. And now I kind of get why that movie didn't work, even though Martin Freeman, inspired choice. Alan Rickman as the paranoid android.
Yeah.
Perfect. There's so many things you can look at that movie, and like even Zooey Deschanel as Trillian, like I think a good choice. But it just doesn't quite work, and right, because it's structured like a series of radio broadcasts or a novel, which is more open to meandering, because the beauty of that story is the way that Douglas Adams tells it. And yeah, there are a lot of great story beats along the way and some fun characters and some great moments, some very like all-time iconic classic bits in and of themselves, but structurally, it's about the tangent. It's about the wordplay. It's about the way that he meanders between these ideas. And we'll have a whole chapter just, based on the thought of the whale as it plummets down to just like crash into the planet's surface, right? And a feature film can't really go there like a novel or a radio show can. But it was just so fun to see like how much of that novel was in those original broadcasts and what he changed, what he added in. To see like the same story develop in different mediums and how he approached each one and made it compelling in its own. And what really was particularly enjoyable was seeing him write a video game and like have some honestly fucking annoying like of the era text adventure like logic jumps of like, oh, you didn't know to like find the secret sandwich in the pub, and you had to find the secret sandwich and know to order it, and then you have to like take that outside and feed it to the dog that's blocking your way, like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Some tricky
Leisure
stuff.
Suit Larry shit. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. It's of the era. There's one when you first get beamed up to the Vogon ship, and you have to like figure out how to get the babblefish into your ear, and it's like a long series of like you encounter the device that deploys the babblefish, and it just like flies across the room and down a hole, and it's a steady process of like, I got to cover the hole. I got to figure out how to cover the hole. But then every time I do that, he like intentionally fucks with you, and he had some quote about like how much he loved the idea of like fucking with players and like giving them fail states and killing them a lot. Like he relished it. And like, okay, you block the hole, you think you got the babblefish. It hits the blockage of the hole and it goes down the drain. So then you figure out a way to cover the drain based on like what you have in the room and on your person. And then this time like a little robot comes out and like grabs it. And like every time you feel like you've solved the puzzle, he finds a way to fuck it up for you. Like some new thing enters the fray and it's like disrupts your work. And that was a very particularly fun one. And it's the structure of a text adventure game, but then like with his humor, you know? And I found like I could see him, I could like visualize him, you know, in front of the computer, just like writing this and like having a blast, figuring out ways he was going to fuck with players and like maintain that great hysterical tone of the Hitchhiker's Guide. And it was just a real joy to, yeah, check all that out. I also checked out like the meaning of Lif and a little bit of Starship Titanic. And he did multiple games, you know, he was a prolific writer. Like something that the game and biography gets into is how quickly he wrote some of those later books in a span of like a few weeks with some of those Hitchhiker's Guide sequels, like always passing the deadline. Even the reason that first book ends so abruptly is because he wasn't finished. And then the publisher was like, what do you have? And he's like, here's where I am. Like, okay, finish the page you're on. We're sending someone around to pick it up at the end of the day. Like, just give us what you got because you've passed several deadlines and we're done. So, yeah, it was very fun sourcing that a little bit more thoroughly this year.
That's awesome. That's a good one. I mean, I've had my experiences with Douglas Adams, but nothing quite as in depth as that. This year, maybe my favorite thing that I encountered at all. No question, I think. So a little bit of a question. K-pop Demon Hunters. Oh my fucking god. It was released June 20th of this year.
Mm-hmm.
On Netflix. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into, really. It has become an international phenomenon. It is maybe my favorite animated movie I've ever seen.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like the story is top notch, the music is top notch, the acting is top notch. And then the story behind the movie and the acting, like, so there are 3 characters in the movie that are in the main K-pop band. Rumi, Mira, and Zoe. Rumi is voiced by EJ. Audrey Nuna voiced Mira, and Rayami voiced Zoe. Here's the fun part. EJ, who did the singing for Rumi, has been working to be a musician for like 20 years. And this put her platinum. This put her on charts.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Also, the people who have the EJ, Audrey Nuna, and Rhea Mee, they have embraced this thing so much that they have started to become their own version of the animated characters. Like, in the movie, at one point, someone said that Mira showed up to a fashion show wearing a sleeping bag and made it work. At the red carpet for, I think it was an award show or something. Audrey Nuna, who played Mira, had someone design her a dress that looked like a sleeping bag.
That's awesome.
Like, Rhea Mee showed up to the red carpet for the Oscars dressed as Zoe. Like, they have embraced how much they love their characters almost as much as how much the fans do. I cannot recommend watching this movie and listening to the soundtrack enough. Like, I would put it up there with some of my favorite Disney films. I would put it up there with How to Train Your Dragon. Like, it is top-notch entertainment. Check it out if you can.
As a fan, I gotta know, are you a Numi guy? Are you a Mira guy? Or are you a Zoe guy?
I'm a Zoe guy.
Ah, me too. She reminded me of Selfie from FF8 a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But also
that, like,
there's something
the
about
design.
Yeah, there's something about the fact that she has the same ADHD that I do. And like, she's completely kind of like subsumed or like subdued until she starts writing lyrics, and then she is batshit insane, and I love every second.
It was a very fun movie. I had heard of it, but again, theme of my part of the show today, I'm not relevant. I don't know what's going on.
You do not have your finger on the pulse of like modern things.
I don't know where the pulse is. The body's dead. I'm not sure. So even like as I was watching it, so I watched it with my girlfriend Natsuki, and at some point I hear her humming along, and then she starts singing along to one of the songs in the movie. And I turned to her, I said, "Oh, I thought you hadn't seen this before." She says, "I haven't." I said, "How do you know the songs?" She's like, "What? This is like one of the most popular songs on the planet. You don't know this song?"
Was it Golden? It was Golden, wasn't it?
I think it might have been that one. Like, I know this is the first time I've heard it. She's like, "You've never heard this before?"
Yep.
Like, no. So this is popular outside of the movie, huh? Okay. It was a very fun ride. Like, it's got a lot of great visual gags. It's just got a great pacing and energy. The aesthetic of the movie is phenomenal. It's got like a sort of stop motion kind of aesthetic to the character designs.
Yeah, I just love the fact that they mix like modern animated stuff with like they mix almost like hyper realistic animated stuff mixed with over the top anime style things, which is just so fun.
It's like the visual vocabulary of like anime and manga with some of like the facial expressions, like the hyper deformed, hyper cartoony emotional reactions to things, like whether it's anger or whatever. But honestly, the way that they're like pasted over the face, it reminded me of like Robot Chicken, which would do this with like action figures, and they just like paste the big mouth over top that's like ill-fitting, that like oversteps like the boundaries of the contours of the head. A lot of fun stuff like that. It's just a fun ride. I had a great time watching it, and it's like, I don't listen to any K-pop or anything like related to that. Like, it's not a genre that I listen to. And honestly, as I was listening to the music, like I wouldn't sit down and just listen to this. I don't think it's getting on the playlist with Ariana. Maybe a couple tracks. Like, they were good. But having it presented to me as like this feature film length music video almost of these great action sequences where I actually am invested in the characters and the events of the story. And then like this action set piece, whether it's like on a speeding train or like on stage at a concert, like the visual display paired with the music, I really enjoyed it. And it was a good way to encounter some of these songs for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
It's a good time. So this is what, like, I didn't actually know like how big of a sensation it is. Like, I've heard about it in passing, but kids are
it's a
K-pop
big
demon
deal.
hunting.
Yeah.
What's the bigger thing with kids right now? Is it Five Nights at Freddy's, K-pop Demon Hunters?
Demon Hunters.
Like, is beating Five Nights?
Yeah.
Do you think like would they rather reference Golden or would they rather say 6-7 though? Because I'm hearing a lot of fucking 6-7. More so than I'm
probably 6-7 still.
Yeah. I don't think anything beats
I'll put
6-7.
it this way. So, I went to Disney with some of my family members and they have younger kids. They fell in love with ramen because of K-pop Demon Hunters.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah. Every night when we got back from the park, they asked their parents or me to make them ramen.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think as a kid if I got into any food because of a cartoon. Dexter's Lab did his damnedest to get me to enjoy a cheese omelet, but I don't think it really.
Oh, I love a cheese omelet.
I mean, I do too, but I don't think omelet du fromage really did anything in particular, like
Fair
to drive
enough.
me one way or the other. Ed and Eddie did the inverse, where like I didn't like Jawbreakers in the first place, but like they made those look thoroughly disgusting.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a good pick though. I really broadened my horizons this year,
Yeah.
with like Ariana Grande and then like some K-pop and checking out this movie and having a good time with all of it. And it's stuff that's why I really look forward to these. Like, I wouldn't have checked those out otherwise, honestly. I probably would have never seen K-pop Demon Hunters. As much as I like animated films, I don't know. I didn't maybe like making like a surface level judgment, like I don't know if that's really my thing. But then I start watching it like, oh, this has some, which I would say is maybe my pick for the greatest animated film, which would be one of the Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one, but it has some of that energy, right? It has like
the action
visual language and
sequences,
pacing.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely like if you were to put those in like a double feature, like it would feel of a piece.
Cohesive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a good time.
It's
Good
just
pick.
it's funny that you mention things where you broaden your horizon, because if I'm not mistaken, your last thing is something that I'm relatively comfortable with.
Yeah. Yeah. This is your shit.
Yeah, it is.
This is the thing that I would have sourced in full. The thing is, that is like a decade-long endeavor. Unless
Yeah.
you're Bo Woodall and you knock out a novel every other day. But for most of us, the idea of going through the entirety of Brandon Sanderson's output is a daunting task. That said, I'm doing my damnedest, because holy shit. So it started with Elantris, which I run a book club on my Twitch channel. We read something every month, and one of the community members proposed Elantris, and it won. So I read that a few months back and loved it. And particularly, I mean, it was a great story with great characters, but I particularly loved the world building.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that, like, oh, this is the first novel from an established fantasy. Like, I'd never read any Brandon Sanderson, as much as I've always been curious. Like, I got to check out more. I jumped right into Mistborn. Holy shit. I don't even want to say, like, it's a magnitude greater, because Elantris was so good. It's not like talking about a weak book and a good book. Like, it's talking about a great book and a fucking 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
Mistborn is so incredible. Like, I've been amazed at. I don't even know where to start, because like the world building is so interesting and clever and creative, but then like as a story with characters like, oh man, it blows Elantris out of the water. It is consistently like every chapter. Like, so I just got back from Taiwan, and like every time I was on public transit, which was often, just like, well, I got to stand on this bus for the next hour and a half. And it's still pretty warm down there. So I'm just like surrounded by bodies sweating, you know, as the bus like swings back and forth up through these mountains. But didn't even mind too much because like, all right, I got 90 minutes of Mistborn ready to go. Let's jump back in.
Question. Have you read Alloy of Law yet?
No, I don't think so. Which one is that?
It's the trilogy. It starts the trilogy after Mistborn.
So I haven't made it there yet. No.
Okay.
So just Mistborn and Elantris are like the ones that fully under my belt, and then I've checked out some of his short fiction as well.
Okay. So you haven't touched the Stormlight archives yet?
No.
Oh, bud.
I'm not even there.
Dude, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I almost didn't put Brandon Sanderson on there today because, like, I haven't made it to the bulk of it. Like, it's a minor source job. That's a weird phrase. Let's not say that ever again. But I've spent a lot of time in his worlds, and it in a year that, like, honestly, I didn't check out that much outside of like either things I streamed on my Twitch channel or things that we talked about on the show. Like that's a lot of time.
Well,
you know,
okay.
That's been
I think
most of my stuff that
I think it's completely fair for something that you end the year with is something that you're going to keep going with to the next year.
Yeah,
right?
He might come up again. Yeah, he might. Because
don't get me
sourcing.
wrong. The Stormlight archives we will not be talking about next year because you have about 5,000 pages for that series.
We'll see.
It's a fucking monster, man.
Yeah. I guess, so yeah, I didn't get a lot of time to read as much as I wanted to. But that said, like, not reading most of Brandon Sanderson might still be reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson.
It is definitely that.
But the things I do want to talk about real quick, that I love so much about his world building specifically. I've been interested in him because I would get the Torn newsletter years ago, and I remember like reading someone's essay on Spren, and this idea of like almost like sourced from Shintoism of just like a conscious universe, like almost everything having a soul, and the idea of at a certain level of technology that you usually see in fantasy, like people trying to understand processes, whether it's like decomposition or bacteria, without having microscopes and without understanding like cellular theory or anything like that, and attributing it all to like fantastic creatures or like magical thinking. The soul of things, like rot spren, you know, moving in and like rotting a piece of meat because you don't really understand bacteria. Or like in this world, that's just how it functions. But that idea I always found compelling. And then to jump into Elantris and to see that, yeah, there's like a physicality that undergirds all of his magical systems. Like the whole warning, like a very brief spoiler, but a spoiler for Elantris starting now. Skip maybe a minute or two ahead if you want to be clear of this, but I kind of need to bring it up to make a point. Starting now. The whole twist of Elantris is like the reason that they're not able to draw magic from the door is because they have to write these aeons, write these runic symbols in a new way because the physical world has physically changed due to like tectonic plate shifts, right? Due to an earthquake. They have to account for that when they're writing out their runes. Because everything is like centered in the structure of the physical landscape, which I thought was a fascinating idea. Like it's the big twist of the story is like, oh, when they discover that like they just have to change the way they're writing these runic symbols because it's conjuring up something in the physical world, they're able to fix the magical stream of power, right? And repower Elantris. And similarly, jumping into Mistborn and just like seeing the allomancy and like the way that all these metals function, and everything following these very explicit rules of like pewter and how that burns in your system in relation to copper, and like how the pushing and the pulling and just the physicality of everything. Like everything is undergirded by natural laws, like physical laws. There's a physics to his magical systems that like everything, like there's no like sense of like Deus Ex Machina or just like
everything
makes
happening. Sense. Everything he does makes sense.
Yes. Like he's developed his world building and his magical systems as things that you feel like you could study in a textbook and understand on that level and know how they interact and coordinate with one another, how they impact one another. And everything is following those rules. And yet it's not bound to limitations. It is boundlessly creative and inventive all the time. You feel like you have the full, like the inverse of this would maybe be like Star Wars and the Force. And I feel like every time they've tried to explain that with like midichlorians and shit, they limit the sense of wonder about the universe and about the magical forces. Whereas like Brandon Sanderson is able to give you the specific ways that these magical systems function and yet make you feel like there are untold wonders yet to see with it. And it doesn't diminish that boundless creativity in the slightest. It's brilliant the way he does it. I'm an immediate fan.
Yeah. One of the things I want to point out, and I'm not gonna spoil any of his other books because I have a feeling you and I will talk about them more later. Robert Jordan, the author of the Wheel of Time series, probably one of the most prolific and well-known fantasy authors around, up there with, fucking Tolkien, Rothfuss, Goodkind, George R.R. Martin. Like, Robert Jordan's up there, right? Robert Jordan's widow and editor chose Brandon Sanderson to finish out the Wheel of Time series.
Right, yeah.
Like, he is that fucking good at understanding a world, seeing how it is supposed to exist, and then expanding upon it without making it feel, like you said, Deus Ex Machina or contrived. Everything he does feels real, on purpose, and alive. And it is so, so clever.
Yep.
I fucking love that guy. I absolutely love that guy. Like, there are not many authors that I can't find something to bitch about when it comes to them. He is probably he is the only, if not one of the only authors that I can honestly not find a thing to just really be frustrated with. Like, he's just that good.
Yeah. And the more I hear about him as a person too, just like, I like being a fan of you. Because there was something, I'm going to get the story wrong, but like I heard about this in passing. Like there were certain royalties that authors were getting, maybe through Audible or whatever, and he was going to get a bigger cut than like usual, but he held out to make sure that other authors got the same deal. I don't know if you know
that sounds like him.
This.
Yeah,
but something along those lines. I just remember hearing the story. Like that's good energy.
He also just does like 5-minute long TikToks about character creation and world building. And hey, I had a question that somebody sent me about this, and this, and I thought I'd talk about it today. Like, he is active and interactive and likes to be a part of the community. And he's not an author that like secludes themselves because that's how they do their art. Instead, the way he makes his art better is by being more a part of the community that loves him so much. I don't know if I can say, I can't gush about this man enough. Like, I just want to hug him. He just seems like a big old teddy bear who is a level of brilliance that I have never seen or could imagine.
Yeah, I'm excited to check out more. So that was definitely easy pick for my number one favorite thing I sourced this year.
Okay, and my number one is going to actually be a pretty quick one. My number one is search action games, in specific, the Hollow Knight series, and in even more specific, Silk Song, which came out this year. I have never really been a big fan of search action games. Like,
oh, see, now this I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's never the idea of going back to previous areas and going through them again just because I got a new tool. Like, I've never really cared that much. Like, yeah, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is fucking brilliant, and it is a search action game. Metroid Dread is incredible. Most of the Metroid games, in fact, are great. But it was never the first game that I would pick up. Like, you give me an RPG or a roguelike or a Souls-like, and I'm in.
Yeah, I guess similarly, which is why I don't have too much to share on this conversation today. Like, I like the genre, but I seek out other genres always just, they take priority, right? Like, I just always would probably rather play a role-playing game or something. Or if it is, and I haven't, I didn't know we made the switch to search to action. I think I'm still stuck on Metroidvania.
Yeah, the besties did this to me. It's Metroidvania to me, but I've heard they started using search action.
For us olds, maybe we take time to recalibrate. But yeah, so search action, like Metroidvania, I find that I sometimes encounter it in something like a place where I didn't expect. I didn't mean to seek it out, like the game Control, which has aspects of that for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Metroidvania elements. But yeah, love the genre, but I wasn't able to. I never played Hollow Knight, and then I was like, well, I mean, I would love to knock out Hollow Knight and Silk Song just real quick for today.
No,
but it seems like it takes a little time to do that.
So this year in gaming outside of this podcast, I really only played maybe 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fully 3 games. I mean, like, Kaylin and I played some Dead Space remake during the spooky season, and there's some co-op stuff we do, but like, I probably put another 30 hours into Hades 1 this year, and I completed Hollow Knight, and it probably took me 50 or 60 hours. And then I've started Silk Song, and so the reason I wanted to bring Silk Song to play is it does something that I've never seen a sequel do before, really. Like, most sequels you see take a like accepted system and program, and then they kind of fiddle with it to make it just a little bit better, so it's just a little new, right? Silk Song's an entirely different game, to the point where the only thing I recognize is the world.
Really?
Yeah. Hollow Knight was a straight Metroidvania. Like, you unlock tools, you had to go back, you had maps, you unlocked the maps, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Easy peasy, makes perfect sense. With Silk Song, they've unlocked extra side quests, NPCs, story beats that never existed.
Okay.
You can unlock different methods of combat. Like, when you first start playing, you have a strong attack, a weak attack, and a bounce attack, right? As you unlock these different quests, those attacks change their range, how fast they hit, whether they go diagonal or straight down. Like, all of a sudden you have an entirely new move set. And that's not even coming into play with the tools and the abilities you can unlock and things like that. It is, if Hollow Knight took me 50 hours to finish, I could see myself putting 150 hours into Silksong and not be bored. And that's wild to me. Like, Metroidvanias normally piss me off because the bosses are so hard. It is all about risk and reward, right? Before we jumped on this call, before we jumped on this episode, I faced the same boss 8 times in a row. When we started the call, I had just hit them in their third and final phase, and 3 or 4 moves in, they killed me. I was maybe 1 hit away.
Damn.
I could taste it. And the fact that I am not discouraged, and instead I'm more interested, only goes to show how clever the gameplay, the storytelling, and the mechanics are in this game. So, I mean, maybe I'm not even talking about search action games this year. Maybe Silksong is my thing.
Yeah.
And I'm only in Act 2. Like, I'm nowhere near done with it. But I would be willing to say it would be between it and Indiana Jones for my game of the year.
That's awesome.
If I beat Silksong, if I was able to beat Silksong before the end of the year, it would probably be Silksong.
You know, sometimes like you can think that a genre isn't really your thing. Like I thought this about roguelikes for a long time.
Yeah.
And there've been a couple games.
Too.
Like I haven't played much Hades, but when I jumped into Hades, that was the first one. Like, oh, maybe I do like roguelikes.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple since then. And maybe not my game of the year, but top 5 for sure. Haste Broken Worlds, which has a roguelike structure. And it doesn't even really register as that because the action is so fun. Like one of those games that just immediately, like mechanically, like this is my exact shit. The sense of speed, the platforming. Just, you could have me progress through 10 more levels or send me back to the beginning 10 more times. And I'm going to have as much fun. Like, it's just, I love the moment-to-moment action so much that I don't really care if I'm, like, I want to progress, I want to beat the video game, but I'm just happy to be doing the thing, you know? So, like, if I need to keep going back to the beginning to get better, fine. And that's, I think when you find that moment with, like, a roguelike, that, like, you don't actually, like, you don't want to fail, but the failure is not a big deal because you're having a good time.
Well,
no matter what you're doing, you're having a
That's
a
what
good
I feel
journey.
like things like a Hades or even a Silksong they do well is even with failure comes progression. Like it's when
true.
It, you know, Souls-likes can hurt you that way, right? Like if you fail hard and you fail consistently, there's no growth. Where Hades especially, Silksong a little less so, but Hades especially, every time you die, there's progression in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's just a single dialogue option, but it is progression. And that's just fucking neat.
Yeah, I guess making it like an explicit, like with all these, the progression is like what you're learning, right? You have to fail to learn the patterns and to progress yourself, but to like sort of a salve on the wound, like, oh, but also like here's some permanent upgrades that you're going to get along the way. Like it will be easier. You're going to learn, and like it's mostly dependent upon you developing an ability, but also these things are going to help.
Yeah.
So you don't,
100%.
It doesn't feel like wasted time. And I guess that's like at first, when I first encountered like roguelites or certain genres, like when I failed, I felt like, man, I just wasted an hour. But it's because I wasn't really having fun. Like that just wasn't the game for me. Like a game that you're enjoying, it shouldn't feel like a wasted hour. Because like even if you failed at the end of that run, did you have a good time? And the answer was like a maybe.
Like I was just saying,
some of the,
like before we started recording, I faced this boss 8 times And I never felt like it was a waste because every time I faced it, I got a little bit closer to beating it. And I could tell every time. Like every time you could notice that you get just a little bit farther. This boss will go down tomorrow. It will be done. I will kill it. But yeah, that's my number. I think that's my number one is just how much enjoyment I am starting to find from games of that nature. Quick rundown of what we covered for our Sourced in 2025. I have the resurgence of early aughts pop punk, K-pop Demon Hunters, and search action games, specifically Silksong.
And for me, it was Ariana Grande. What was my number two? What
this stays in.
Talk about? Oh my god, it stays in.
Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams. Fucking Christ, I'm losing it. And what? No,
Sanderson.
Yeah, I got it together. Well, because I got stuck on this idea. When you said rundown, I thought you were going to talk about the things we talked about on the show this year, because what I was going to say was I sourced those things, but 2025 to me is really not about, maybe Brandon Sanderson. Like, that's the one that I'm going to remember. To me, this is a year about John Bon Jovi. It's a year about yokai. It's a year about Ewoks. It's a year about Hugh Jackman in a big hat. It's a year about witches. It's a year about mummy movies with no mummy.
It's a year about Silent Hill.
It's a year about Silent Hill. It's a very quiet year. It's a year about learning unfortunate things about our beloved hero Indiana Jones and coming to terms with them, and then still having to come to terms with other things like him dealing with witches and shit.
It is a year about the sexiest, slightly elderly Sam Neill that a human being has ever witnessed.
Oh, yeah. De-aged Dong in real time. That's only something that we imagined, but
it was
yes.
there.
It's a year about Tom Arnold as the once and future king.
It honestly, like, saying it out loud, this was a batshit insane year of episodes.
We did some Final Fantasy too.
Yeah,
that was
we
a good
did.
thing.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was a good thing we did it in a very bad way. With Spirits Within, at least.
And Advent Children.
I gave you your first Silent Hill experience as the movie, man.
Yeah, you popped my Silent Hill cherry. Thanks. Appreciate that.
But hey, we made up for it. We got you on board, regardless. It was a very fun year.
And you know what? Thank you.
Thank you all for sourcing us. Sourcing this show. We appreciate you.
Thank you for sourcing us. Thank you for sourcing the show. Thank you for any communication you have tossed our way at source.foundpod@gmail.com. Any social media conversations we've had via Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Patreon. And
speaking of,
there it is.
I don't think we did this last month because we're on the one episode a month right now for a few more months. 2026, we're going to get back to the usual schedule, but we got a few more months for a breather as some life events also happen. But so sorry, because I think we forgot for November. But double month shout out, 2025 shout out to our sorcerers, our supporters, Frederick Bieber Vorhog, 13th Horseman, Susie Daggs, Joey Bishop, and Jacob Spindell.
Friendship.
We source you.
Yeah, we do. Hard.
Thank you so much.
And, I'm going to be honest. I think the way I want to end this one,
Yeah.
check your toilets for a lovely 2026.
What is our toilet resolution? Flush less, flush more.
Yes.
As
No
in, like,
Freddy
more-
Kruegers.
I was like, is this going to be a year of more bad things or more good things? But then, do you want to keep the good things in the bowl? I'm like wondering about my own choice of metaphor here.
Yeah, your metaphor sucks butt, dude.
Stay
Flushing.
Shit, what was it again? What was it? Douglas Adams.
Stay flushing.
Stay flushing or stay floating.
No, yeah, please don't. No, stay flushing.
I'm trying to make it work.